Good morning, Willard Wildcats. Happy Wednesday, May 27th. We have birthdays to celebrate today. Today, we are going to celebrate Sophia O.M. Happy birthday to you. We're also going to celebrate all the June birthdays today. So here I go. If you have a June birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Grace M., Yoselyn O.M., Jocelyn R.G., Sophia C., Juliet M., Ryan F., Natalie G., Junia B., Valeria M., Malhar P., Sylvia V.S., Henry B.D., Vanessa S., Sebastian S.B., Alexander I.R., Kisa S.K., Sarai M., Aaron P., Sarah Q., Mason S., Brandon C., Giselle D., Robert D., Ella D., Alayla L., Robert T., McKenna B., Roman C., Gael G., Layla E., London B., Evan D., Annalie B., Paulina M., Aubrey R.J., Casey A.O., Ivy J., Melanie R.A., Marley V., Alani H., Zabe O., Ayana P., Elena P., Katie C., Kyle Z., Thiago Z., Brandon G.O., Madeline P., Isaiah T., Lucas L., Brody M., Manuel O., Jaime C., Anthony R. Happy birthday to all of our June birthdays. Tomorrow we'll finish up the May birthdays and we'll read the July and early August birthdays. We hope you have wonderful birthdays, even though we're not together. We're celebrating you from afar. This book today we're going to read is called The Sweetest Fig, and this book is by Chris Van Allsburg. This is a book that is great for our kindergartners and our TKers and our fifth graders. And depending on what grade level you're in, and as you think about this book, I want you to think about the perspective. Who thought is the story sharing with us? This has been a family favorite in the Baxter house for many, many years. The Sweetest Fig. Have you ever tried a fig? Figs, if you've not tried one and you're curious about them, you could look up what a fig is on your computer. But they're these little tiny mini pear-shaped fruits, but they're dark and kind of purpley, and they can be very sweet. Can you see it in the picture? The Sweetest Fig. Here's a really good picture of them. Monsignor Bilbo was a dentist. He was a very fussy man. He kept the small apartment as neat and clean as his office. If his dog Marcel jumped on the furniture, Bilbo was sure to teach him a lesson. Except on Bastille Day, the poor animal was not even allowed to bark. Now, you guys know I have dogs, and you've heard them sometimes bark. Dogs like to bark. So think about that dog's perspective. How do you think that dog feels about not being able to bark? Are you kind of thinking? You're going to get into the story then if you're thinking about that. One morning, Bilbo met an old woman waiting at his office door. She had a toothache and begged the dentist to help. "But you have no appointment," he told her. The woman moaned. Bilbo looked at his watch. Perhaps there was time to make a few extra francs. We don't use francs. We use dollars and pennies, right? So you can tell there's some clues that this is happening not in the United States, right? He took her aside and looked in her mouth. "This tooth must come out," he said with a smile. When he was done, the dentist said, "I will give you some pills to kill the pain." Luckily, my son had a tooth pulled a couple of weeks ago, and that was not painful. Dentistry has come a really long way. The old woman was very grateful. I can't pay you in money, but I have something much better. She took 2 figs from her pocket and handed them to Bibot. Figs, he said angrily. These figs are very special. The woman whispered, they can make your dreams come true. What story does that remind you of? Maybe Jack and the Beanstalk and Magic Beans? Maybe. These figs are very special, the woman whispered. They can make your dreams come true. See, this is kind of sounding familiar. It was clear to Bibot that the woman was crazy. He set the figs down and took her by the arm. When she reminded him about the pills, he said, I'm sorry, only for paying customers, and he shoved her out the door. Okay, if you're thinking about her perspective, what do you think she thinks about that? Yeah, that's not an IB way to be. That's not very caring at all, is it? No. That evening, Bibot took his little dog to the park. Poor Marcel loved to sniff the tree trunks and bushes. But whenever he stopped, Bibot would pull sharply on the leash. Just before going to bed, the dentist had a small snack. He sat at his dining room table and ate one of the figs the old woman had given him. It was delicious, possibly the finest, sweetest fig he had ever had. Is he sharing? Doesn't look like it. In the morning, Bibot dragged Marcel down the stairs for his morning walk. The steep steps were hard for the short-legged dog, but Bibot wouldn't think of carrying his pet. He hated to get Marcel's white hairs on his beautiful blue suit. How do you think Marcel feels about that? Yeah, probably doesn't think he's being super caring, right? As he walked along the sidewalk, Bibot could not help noticing people looking at him. They are admiring my suit, he thought. But when Bibot saw his reflection in the window of a cafe, he stopped in horror. He was dressed only in his underwear. The dentist turned and ran into an alley. Sacre bleu, he thought. What has happened to my clothes? Then he remembered the dream he had had last night. In his dream, he stood in front of that very cafe, dressed in his underwear. Something else had happened in his dream, and Bibot struggled to recall it. Marcel, looking out from the shadows of the alley, began to bark. The dentist looked up and saw the rest of his dream come true. Do you think that fig was magic? No one ever noticed Bibot as he ran home in his underwear. All of the eyes of Paris were fixed on the Eiffel Tower. Does that give you a clue as to where they are? They're in Paris, right? Which slowly drooped over if it were made of soft rubber. Bibot understood now that the old woman with the figs had told him the truth. He would not waste the second fig. Now he believes what she said, huh? Over the next few weeks, as reconstruction of the Eiffel Tower began, the dentist read dozens of books on hypnotism. Each night, before he went to sleep, he gazed in the mirror and whispered over and over, Bibot is the richest man on earth. Bibot is the richest man on earth. So what do you think he's wishing for? He wants to be the richest man on earth, right? Soon in his dream, that's exactly what he was. As he slept, the dentist saw himself steering his speedboat, flying his airplane, and living in luxury on the Riviera. Night after night, it was the same. One evening, Bibot... Do you hear Pearl? Dogs like to bark. One evening, Bibot took the second fig from his cupboard. It would not last forever. Tonight, he thought, is the night. He put the ripe fruit on a dish and set it on the table. Tomorrow, he would wake up the richest man in the world. He looked down at Marcel and smiled. The little dog would not be coming along. In his dream, Bibot had Great Danes. What do you think of that? Do you think that that's an IB way to be? I don't think so. As the dentist reached into his cupboard to take out some cheese, he heard the crash of breaking china. He turned to see Marcel standing on a chair with his front paws on the table, chewing the last fig. What do you think's going to happen? Bebo was furious. He chased the dog around the apartment. When Marcel ran beneath the bed, Bebo yelled at him, "Tomorrow I'll teach you a lesson you'll never forget." Then the dentist, angry and heartbroken, went to sleep. I'm wondering if you're making a prediction here, if you're thinking about what could happen next. When he woke the next morning, Bebo was confused. He was not in his bed. He was beneath it. Suddenly, a face appeared in front of him, his own face. "Time for your walk," it said. "Come to Marcel." A hand reached out and grabbed him. Bebo tried to yell, but all he could do was bark. What happened? They traded places. Whose dream was it that they traded places? It was Marcel's dream that they traded places, right? I hope you enjoyed today's story. Pearl did. Wildcats, remember, we are safe, respectful, and responsible. Have a wonderful day.